All right, what's going on, y'all? I'm Jesse with Carolina Whitetails. I appreciate y'all joining me for another episode of Indoors Edition. On today's episode, my guest is a legend in the outdoor industry. He was the 1991 ASA 3D World Champion, four-time Georgia State Champion. You've seen him in Realtree Monster Bucks, Realtree Road Trips, and Bone Collector. And I love watching his outdoor YouTube videos and setting up, doing bow builds, and I always learn something. My guest, Travis T-Bone Turner. What's up, man?
Man, thanks for having me. I appreciate you. I feel like I need to write you a check for all those accolades you tagged there on me. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you got a long list of accomplishments, man.
But it just shows how old I am. Lucky and old.
Yeah. How are you and your family doing during all this COVID stuff going on?
We're good actually. We've all actually avoided the COVID. We none of us have had it. Actually, nobody in my immediate family have it. My dad or sister. I take that back. My stepmother, she had it, but she come through it pretty good. She didn't. Yeah, crazy times we're living in. But we're okay actually. I was just on the phone a minute ago talking to a buddy of mine and was telling him I've been going with my hair on fire for the last 15 years, and ever since last March, I've had the mandatory vacation or mandatory slowdown. It kind of hits you hard a little bit because you're not doing like you've always done. But then after about a month, I was like, man, I don't have to go with my hair on fire. So I've kind of embraced it. I've always been one to try to turn a negative into a positive. So you just find other things to do. Been trying to celebrate our partners through social media. Thank goodness we can still stay in touch that way with people. And it seems across the board, outdoor industry wise, it's been kind of a rebirth, if you will, because that's something that you can do is safely go outside. So I know Polaris and a lot of your UTV, ATV, boat sales, all that kind of stuff is at record numbers, and bow sales, gun sales, and we all know how hard it is to buy some ammo right now. So hopefully maybe this jump started folks to realize that the great outdoors is a good way to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hopefully maybe it'll force people, or not force them, but it gives the opportunity
Yeah.
for people to do things maybe that they didn't always do, outside of a crowd, maybe get out in the woods or go fishing or something like that.
That's right.
Um, how about you, as far as I know you travel and hunt in different states. How has it affected that with your travel?
Well, that was the good thing. We actually, yeah, we kind of geared up. Waddell and I both, we have some pretty good land here to hunt in Georgia. So we kind of geared up. If we wasn't able to travel or he wasn't able to fly, we were going to try to do a lot more shows here in Georgia. But we could tell it we could travel, and we just put the Chevy trucks in the wind, and hunting season was just the same as it always was as far as traveling goes. We could still get our airline flights if we needed to. And then also we drove to a lot of places. So it's been business as usual, I guess you could say, from August on. But as far as like appearances and expos, we do a lot of public speaking for Whitetails Unlimited, NWTF, a lot of the conservation groups, as well as doing expos, the Dixie Deer Classic. I'm sure, you guys are all familiar with that.
Yeah,
You
yeah. I was going to ask you about that. I know they've canceled it this year. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
is it just
we
around in
didn't get
North
to do any of
Carolina,
them.
or
Actually, I'm
are other shows canceled as well?
yeah, and then like a lot of the banquets, you can only go 50% capacity. Like a lot of the banquets that I'd speak at would be 700 to 800 people, and now they're limited. You can only have 250 people in the room. So I know don't quote me on these numbers, but from March to like the middle of June, I know NWTF had lost about $11 million worth of revenue because they couldn't hold banquets and fundraising banquets. So,
Yeah,
that hurts for organizations that does nothing but fundraising. So, and the expos do the same thing. Now, I'm booked to do an expo in Kansas in the first part of March. I've got one banquet to do in Missouri first part of March, and then I got another expo to do at the end of March up in Wisconsin. So things are, there are a few things going on, but there's some states like Michigan, you can't do any of that stuff. A lot of the northeastern states, you can't do any of that. So
Yeah.
a lot they're choosing not to even do anything.
Well, you said you was able to hunt this past season. Did you have any luck?
Yes, I did. I actually, it's probably going to sound like I'm tooting my own horn a little bit, but I probably had the best year I've ever had. I killed in Kansas with my bow. I killed a 181 with my bow out there in September. And that was at that time, that was my largest buck ever. And then opening week of Kentucky, which was the first part of September, I killed a high 130s, 140 kind of buck up there. And then I came home. I had some really good pictures right here at my home farm here in Georgia, and I killed a 161 with my bow right here in my own farm.
Mm.
And 2 weeks after that, I killed my biggest buck ever with a muzzleloader here in Georgia, and it gross scored 186. So, yeah, and that's my only 2 bucks I could kill in Georgia, and I killed them right here on my home farm. So,
yeah,
between the Kansas deer on my own farm out there and my place here, man, man, it can't get no better. I feel like I tell everybody, and you can relate hunting here in the South, that you kill some mature deer like that and decent deer like that in Georgia. It's like you killed a vampire and a unicorn all in the same year.
yeah. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
That's definitely worth bragging about. Well, as far as archery, your name is like really well known in the archery industry. What I'm interested in what like how you got into archery, because like for me, as far as hunting, I went where I was raised at my parents' house, and my mom and dad, they was more comfortable with me taking a bow rather than a gun, which both of them is a deadly weapon, but it was fine with me because I really got into you know shooting targets. There's a local club around here that it's got the 3D course, and I didn't get into it as heavily, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really got into bow hunting though. Is what I'm saying. I wonder what got you in
Yeah.
that direction, because I know people that hunt. I know people, some of the biggest hunters that I know, and especially around here, there's dog clubs and that sort of thing. So I know people um, that deer hunt and have killed big deer, but they really don't bow hunt, or they're not really into archery. So what kind of got you in that direction?
Well, I mean, I was a fan of any type of hunting. I mean, I guess I cut my teeth like so many other people, squirrel hunting and rabbit hunting and doing that kind of thing with my dad and uncles and such. But as archery wise, you would think that I started at an early age, but actually my dad had bought me a recurve bow when I was 10 years old for good grades. And my dad didn't know how to get it set up with a bow. So I got a recurve that was an adult recurve. It was a 45, 50-pound recurve. And at 10 years old, I could barely bend the string. So he kind of got me a bow that was a little bit too strong for me. So my first footsteps into archery was kind of I guess you could say it wasn't a good experience because the bow was a little on the heavy side for me. So I kind of put it on the back burner, continued to squirrel hunt, and I deer hunted a little bit, but as soon as I was out of high school, or right out of high school, my buddies who I'd hung around with, we fished all the time, and it was late in the summer, and I got in a hunting club with them, and they said, "Are you gonna bow hunt with us, man? We're fixing to start practicing shooting our bows in the afternoons." This was in June. And I said, "No, man, I ain't doing that." I said, "You just end up wounding a bunch of deer, and I'm not bow hunting. I'll just wait till gun season." And they said, "Well, look, we're not fishing anymore. We're going to be shooting our bows, and plus you get 5 more weeks of season if you bow hunt." And I said, "Okay." So I caved and went and got me a bow, and bought the bow on a Wednesday. And while we were there, my buddies was with me at the local archery shop. I'd spent, I don't know, about $300-400 on this bow. It was a PSE Strata Flight Express. This was back in 1987, and the local guy that has the local archery shop, I mean the local archery range, was there, and he was telling all my buddies about the tournaments that they had once a month. at Dog River Archery Club. And, I really wasn't paying much attention to them because I was getting my bow set up. But we left there, and that guy had already talked them into coming out and shooting that Sunday. Like I said, this was a Wednesday. We went and shot at my buddy's house on Thursday and Friday, and shot all day Saturday. And I was doing pretty good. Kind of got my bow sighted in, and I was just proud that I was shooting away. It was a lot easier than what I had thought it was from back when I was 10 years old. But you gain a lot of strength from 10 years old to 19 years old. So I was able to pull a lot more poundage, and I could see, man, I'm doing pretty decent at this. Well, they asked me at Saturday night, said, "You going with us tomorrow to that tournament?" I said, "Man, I just bought a bow on a Wednesday. I ain't going to no tournament." And they said, "Well, we've never been to no tournament. Come on, go with us." I only had 6 arrows. So we got there, and anybody that's ever thought of archery tournament, you always think, like, I know when I was back then, there was no Google. We had to flip through an encyclopedia in the late 80s. So I always thought of an archery tournament of about 100 people in white suits standing on the line shooting their bow, like you would see at the Olympics. So I thought that's kind of what we was going to. Well, we show up, and it's a 3D tournament. So you walk through the woods, and it's like hunting situations. You don't know the distance, and you got to shoot at rings that you don't know where they are. It's just concentric rings based on the way the deer was. And actually, they weren't even 3D turn. They was Excelsior bells that we shot posters. This was long before there was a 3D target.
Yeah.
So we signed up for the beginning class, and you shoot in your own group. It's just like golf, basically. You go through the woods, you go through the course, and you come back, you turn your scorecards in, and you see, how you did against everybody. So we signed up for the novice division, the beginning division. We get back around, and I was so happy because, one, I didn't lose any arrows, and then two, I had beat all my buddies. So there were 6 of us went, and I was like, man, I wanted to bow for 5 days, and I beat all my buddies, and I couldn't have been any happier. We turned our scorecards in, and lo and behold, I shot the best out of all the beginners. There was 36 or 37 people shot, and I come out on top, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm a fat, flat-footed Georgia boy, and I ain't never been good at nothing. I took up a place online in high school football, and I float pretty good, so therefore I thought I swum pretty good, but I think I might have found something I'm pretty decent at. And from that point on, I couldn't get any more of archery. I mean, I'd work my 40 hours a week. I worked for Mercedes-Benz in downtown Atlanta, and I mean, every free moment, because when you're young, you're not married, you don't have kids, you don't have a house payment, and man, every free moment I was spending on archery and outdoors in the woods. I killed 3 deer with my bow that year, and from that point on, I just throwed myself into the world of tournament archery. So that was in '88, and then I won my first state championship in '90, and then I won, the ASA World Championships in '91. So, and then I shot professionally all the way up to about 2002. So, I mean, I like gun hunting. Don't get me wrong, but and if it's legal, we support it. So I'm not going to be one of these guys that's going to down any other type of hunting, whether it be dog hunting or anything. But I prefer, hunting with a compound. I've killed deer with a crossbow. I've killed deer with a recurve, but compound hunting is my favorite. And I like it because, like so many other people, I'm probably preaching to the choir to your listeners and stuff, but just because that deer's at 20 yards and broadside, that don't mean you got him. You still got to get drawn back.
Right.
You still got to make the shot. You got to suppress that nervous energy. You got to do the right thing. So it's that much more rewarding when you got a little sweat equity and a pride factor, knowing that you got that deer in close. It wasn't just he popped out at 250 yards and I put the crosshairs on him and shot him. You got him in there right there where he could sniff you, and you got him. So it adds to the pride factor.
Yeah, I know. That's one thing I respect and like about you is not down in any type of legal hunting, regardless of gun hunting or bow hunting or whatever. But it is something rewarding with archery, bow hunting. A lot of times with a gun, it's like, if he'll just step out, that's it. I got him.
Yeah.
But with a bow, it's a little bit more than that. It's a little bit more, like you said, you gotta calm the nerves and go through the steps and get it done. So it's because of archery that you started. Is it because of archery that you started working with Realtree, and how did you start working with them?
Yeah. Well, that came about is like I say, I worked for Mercedes-Benz up until 92. And after I'd won the world championship and I shot for Browning, I shot for Browning manufacturer out of Salt Lake City. They had an archery. They had bows and arrows back then. And that's what I'd won the world championship with. Well, I toured around the country shooting all the tournaments, indoor Las Vegas. And I was shooting all those tournaments and local tournaments too. And I said, I don't want to, I was going to school too at the same time. I was actually, I got a 2-year degree in HVAC. So I could, I thought that's something I want to do because I knew I didn't want to work downtown Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz. I'd done work there for 7 years and it was a good living, but I'm like, man, this is not something I want to do the rest of my life. So while I was young, I said, you know what, I'll be a heating and airman because you get to work outside. No 2 days are the same. It's job security. It pays pretty good. I thought that's to be a good career path because I definitely was not cut out for any book work or to be no doctor or lawyer. That ain't my cup of tea. So
Yeah, I did a little bit of heating and air work when I got out of high school, so I know what you're
yeah.
talking about.
So while I worked for Mercedes, I was going to night school and I got a 2-year degree in HVAC. But when I got done with towards the end of it, I was like, I don't want to do this for the living, and I was like, man, how does somebody find their path? When you're in your early 20s, what are you going to do? And my dad and my uncles had always told me, said, if you will pursue a passion and, just engage yourself with your passion, you'll never feel like you worked a day in your life. And I thought, I'm going to do it. I can't get enough of the outdoors and archery. I want to do something in this industry. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I could not. I just loved archery that much. I mean, it'd been so good to me. I said, while I'm young, and like I said earlier, before I had kids and before I was married, I was still living at home. I said, I want to try this so that I don't have no regrets when I get in my 30s or 40s. And, I say I should have done that. So I said, I'm going to go work in this archery shop. So I went to work in an archery shop, took about a $15,000 a year pay cut. And I wasn't having to deal with the traffic going to Atlanta. And man, I was so happy. I could work 80 hours a week and it didn't even bother me at all because I was getting to tell hunting and fishing stories. I was fixing up people's bows, fletching arrows. I'd already knew how to do all that. So I did that for 2 years, still competed, got to go all across the country. And then I worked in the shop besides that. And then me and a buddy of mine opened up our own shop, which was south of Atlanta, which was where all the best hunting and fishing are, is where I still live now, actually. And that was only about 45 minutes from Realtree headquarters. So when I opened the shop, I mean, it was tough times. Opening a business and getting it going is rough. I mean, there was a whole lot of bologna sandwiches eating them first couple of years, but through persistence and having a decent reputation, shooting local tournaments and stuff, people started coming to me. We built our store up. I bought my partner out, started doing all the work for everybody at Realtree, Bill Jordan, David Blanton, Michael Waddell, everybody at Realtree, and all their guests, whether it be a country singer, whether it be a baseball players, football players. I was doing all their work, just setting them up for them because, I told David, I said, you guys have got the premier video series, Monster Bucks, as well as a TV show, back on ESPN and TNN way back in the 90s. Yeah. And I said, you see some of these people that are getting into archery and they're anchoring behind their head, they're not doing it right. I said, and not to say that I'm God's gift to archery. However, I do think that I could help these people be more proficient and get a better first taste of what archery is all about. So I began doing that, setting up their bows. And then they asked me to be a character with Jeff Foxworthy. And this was around 1999. And I was still shooting tournaments and stuff then. So I thought, well, this will be my 15 minutes of fame. I'll be the country redneck guy on the Monster Buck videos for 1 year. And that was Monster Bucks 10. And then they kept asking me year after year after year. And they asked me to go on hunts. And I switched gears from tournament archery in around 2002 and went to doing more TV stuff with Realtree. And then I sold my store in 2006. A guy approached me about buying my shop. So I sold my shop. And me, Nick, and Michael had been great friends all the way since the middle 90s. And that's about the same time Michael had the idea for starting his own show. And we came up with the name Bone Collector. We started that in 2007. And, we're still working with Realtree. We bleed Realtree. And then even now we figured Bone Collector might last a couple, 3 years. And here we are, 14, 15 years later and still doing really, really blessed to have the platform that we do. So that's kind of, everybody thinks when they see you on TV, they think, man, I want to do that, man. T-Bone and them, they just come out of nowhere and they got their own TV show, but they don't really realize the backstory of the 15 years of eating them bologna sandwiches in a shop and,
Yeah.
archery tournaments and stuff. It's been a process for sure. But, again, it goes back to what my dad and uncle said. It was a passion. You pursue your passion. And even today, I feel so, humbled and blessed to get to do what we get to do, and scratching out a living and, paying some electric bills by getting to go hunting and hopefully entertain and chit chat with other like-minded individuals all across the country. So it has been a blessing. If it ended right now and I didn't kill another cockroach, I've already outlived my dreams. A lot of people tell us that we seem to be down home and we're no different than them. And we want people to feel like that, because me, Michael, and Nick, we all come from humble beginnings. And we'd say that probably half or more of the people that are watching or happen to be, we call them extended family. They're probably better hunters than us. The only difference is we just got a camera that follows us along. So we're appreciative of that. We're by no means are we considered a professional hunter. We just
Right.
happen to be, we don't like the word professional hunter. We're outdoor entertainers.
Right.
That's about it.
Like
It goes back to pursuing your passion, like,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like pursuing your passion. If you love race cars and you're working and turning wrenches on race cars and that's your thing, you could work 80 hours, 100 hours a week and not even feel like you worked any, but you should do it for your passion. And I tell folks this all the time. Kids ask all the time. I'm like, there's so many opportunities in this industry, especially now that everybody's got YouTube channels and everybody's got, there's so many TV shows from when, we started way back 20 years ago. I mean, if I didn't have two nickels to rub together and I wanted to be in the industry, I would learn how to run a camera. Because if you run a pretty good camera and you can edit just a little bit, there's so many people that are in need of that. You could get all your expenses paid to go around and film people and see the country and get paid to do so. And there's no telling, if you immerse yourself into the industry, just like what we did, doors will open for you. Don't burn bridges, have a decent reputation, stay humble, and then just, embrace it. Just realize it's a journey, not a destination. That I don't know where things are going to go for me for the rest of my career or whatever, but I know that I'm enjoying each and every day. And because I'm nothing against dipping septic tanks, but thank goodness I ain't dipping septic tanks every day, So I'm getting to do what so I realize that I'm blessed and will continue to feel that way.
Yeah. I was watching some older hunting videos yesterday, the last couple of days, some real old ones from the early 90s. And one thing I was thinking is when you and Michael Waddell and I guess Jeff Foxworthy started doing those skits and stuff like that. In my opinion, it really changed the way that people watched hunting videos, because it wasn't as serious as it was. Like, I love watching the older videos. I watch them all the time, but they was just a different type of video. They almost seemed like something, like, man, I could never do that. These people kill these deer. But then when y'all started cutting up and y'all added comedy into the videos, they was really serious before. And then y'all really added a lot of comedy and just guys that was cutting up. It really felt like, they're like me and my buddies hanging out and deer hunting. It just changed the way that hunting videos were watched, because it put comedy. It wasn't so serious. Did you realize that at the time? I mean, was that an intention of yours, of y'all, to make it different?
Yeah. David had mentioned to me, because when they were doing the Monster Bucks, they'd always have the archery tournament. And if you watch the Monster Bucks videos, like, Monster Bucks 5, 6, 7, 8, like that, they'd show 3 or 4 hunts from, hunters all across the country. And then they'd have a little bit of an archery tournament to break up the monotony of just watching 30 hunts on a VHS tape. So, David had came to me, this was around 1998, and said, Trav, we want to do something a little different. You got a tournament background. You think you could set us up a course?" So long before I ever was in front of the camera, I was setting up these 3D courses where they was having to shoot alligators and beavers and all kinds of stuff, making it a little interesting. Well, he'd approached me in '99 and said, "Look, we're thinking about bringing Jeff Foxworthy on. What do you think about that?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What about making Jeff Foxworthy?" And there was another guy. It was Willie and Billy. Well, Billy was a disc jockey out of Nashville, but he didn't hunt. He was not an anti-hunter by no means, but he didn't hunt. He was a country guy, but he just didn't hunt, and he wasn't comfortable with about having to shoot a bow and stuff like that. Well, then David and them asked me, said, "How about you playing a character with Foxworthy? Opposite of Willie. Put you some Bubba teeth in." See, he said, "Can you do that? Can you come up with something?" So that's when I went to thinking. I was shooting for Hoyt at the time, but I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I brought a old bow that we used to shoot like 20 years ago? I come up with the old whitetail hunter, which anybody that's over 35 years old knows that whitetail hunter was the #1 bow sold in the early '80s and late '70s. I said, I'll have that. Put a fishing rod and reel on the front of it. Have a big long floppy fishing hat and the Bubba teeth and the flannel shirt. And I said, whether it's trick photography or not, we'll just have me and Jeff outshoot you guys, and it'll just be funny. Naturally, because if Jeff Foxworthy is involved, it's going to be funny. So we did that, and we didn't know how it was going to be taken. We thought, golly, hunting videos have always been so serious and pounding the chest and look at me, I'm the great white hunter. And this was going to be a way to break up the monotony. And we thought and hoped that kids would like to watch it, that women wouldn't mind watching it. It could be a family get together to watch a hunting video, because you always had something to look forward to, and it was a saga that continued throughout the videos. We thought, well, we'll try it this year. If it falls, we can always go back to something else. Well, people loved it. They couldn't get enough of it, and we're appreciative of it. And then we did it, for several years on top of that afterwards. So, and then we hope that Bone Collector and even Realtree Road Trips, because Realtree Road Trips was an envision of Michael and Steve Finch's to do a different kind of hunting show. And to me, I appreciate you saying that when we were doing the Monster Bucks, it kind of changed the way people thought about videos, and it did. But Realtree Road Trips really changed hunting shows. I mean, that was different to show Michael walking in the store and hooking it up with the lady behind the counter and playing wiffle ball in camp. During the midday, instead of taking a nap, they're playing a wiffle ball game. And that's what people do at hunting camp.
Right.
So we wanted to celebrate everything having to do with hunting, not just hey, look at me, I'm the great white hunter, and this is, if you don't hang a tree stand like me, and if you don't rattle like me, and if you don't blow a grunt call like me, you're never going to kill a deer. That ain't the way it goes. We wanted to show what hunting really is. When you miss, when you slip and bust your tater, all that stuff. We wanted to show all of it. So Realtree Road Trips set the stage for a lot of other hunting shows, and then it just led right into the camaraderie and fellowship that me, Michael, and Nick have in Bone Collector. And we hope that when people watch our show, we'd love to kill big deer, but at the end of the day, we want people to say, man, I'd love to share camp with them guys. Man, it just seems like they have such a good time. It's just like the camp I have. And then by all means, if we happen to kill a good deer, that's just a cherry on top.
We just went through this crazy election. What was it? A couple months back. I know, and then y'all had a big election down there in Georgia. But I know you were involved with Hunt the Vote. I think you and a couple people, I seen some videos where y'all was involved with that. And let me just say, I'm glad that people like you speak out for things that, outdoors, hunting and fishing and that sort of thing, because we need people that ain't afraid to speak out and talk politics. But I was wondering if you had received any like pushback or opposition to speaking about politics.
No, none at all. Actually, not one thing. Nothing negative, especially on the right, on the right side. Now, I guarantee you, I mean, there's some folks on the left side that probably didn't agree with some of the things we were saying, but honestly, nothing negative whatsoever. I'm I mean, we could beat this thing to, and I still will, speak up for my rights and beliefs and stuff like that for sure. I still scratch my head. I just don't know how it went the way it did. I'm still screaming foul play some way. I mean, I don't want to be
Yeah, I agree with you.
the redneck that's saying something derogatory, but I think that there's something fishy smelling there, and
Yeah, something don't smell right. I agree with you.
no, I hopefully we will get to the bottom of it for sure.
And speaking of of politics, you being in the outdoor industry, do you see or know of any, like, in your opinion, any threat or pressure that's on us as far as like licensing or the Second Amendment? I mean, things that you see is something that is being attacked.
Yeah, I'll tell you something that's on the forefront right now is actually Utah, and you may have seen this on social media some right now, but Utah, they slipped it's already passed and it's going to the Senate now for in Utah that they're trying to ban trail cameras. They're trying to ban the use of trail cameras from August to January, and you can supplemental feed out there, and they're trying to take away your right to supplemental feed, because sometimes they have some harsh winters, so they allow you to put out alfalfa bales and stuff for the elk and the mule deer and such. But they're trying to ban the use of trail cameras. Uh, and well, we all know how they're trying to ban assault rifles, and they're looking at that. But
Yeah.
that's something that's on the. We're signing a petition right now, so hopefully we're going to post something. Me, Michael, or Bone Collector, or what have you, we'll post something so that people can see where to go sign the petition. But I've already signed it. Michael signed it. Nick signed it. But you can go to Utah Department of Natural Resources and you can sign that petition yourself, so that they won't, do that. We need to fight that so that trail cameras stay. Uh, some people will say that they're unfair, but because it's not like what we grew up. But in if you weigh out all the pros and cons, I think trail cameras allow you to be have a little more equity in your land, one, and two, you're not surprised when a deer steps out. You know the history of that deer. It
Yeah.
gets you outdoors more. I think the pros far outweigh the cons. I'm probably preaching to the choir about that, but it makes the hunting experience more of a 12-month thing rather than just like, okay, well, it's September 20th. I'm just going to go sit in a tree and see what comes by.
Right.
This way you can age the deer. You can learn the deer. Kids can have some fun about doing it. Oh man, we're going to go check trail cameras, or they can look on their iPhone and look at the pictures. And man, look at that coyote. Look at this, man. We got a duck walk by our corn pile or what have you. So I think the pros far outweigh the cons. So we definitely want to stop that from being passed as far as trail cameras being illegal in Utah, which makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that, but
They've already done it in Arizona. They passed it, because
well, what are they saying?
What guys were doing
it's
is throughout the summer months when it's well, they're saying this is the complaint in Arizona. So in the summer months, water is very key for the Arizona mule deer and elk and such. So on public land, guys are going up putting their trail cameras on the watering holes. Well, all the pressure and constant going in and out is running all the deer away from the watering holes. So they're not able to drink at, because there's only a select places that they can get water.
Right.
So they're saying that pressure is pushing away from the water, and they're not able to get to the water to which they need drastically. So they're saying it's rough on the herd, and they banned it. You can't use it in the summer months on water holes in Arizona on public land.
I haven't heard anything about that, but I'm gonna have to look.
I'm not telling you. I mean, yeah, and that's just. I mean, I'm not telling you the whole scope of it. I'm just telling you the high points. By all means,
Right.
I encourage anybody to go look it up and read the actual all the pros and cons and all the information that's on there. But that's the gist of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into it. Like I said, I'm glad
Mhm.
that and I respect you for it, for speaking out and, you know, caring about this sort of thing, because some people, I don't, you know, they may rather bite their tongue than to speak out about, you know, when it comes to these things. But like, you know,
Right.
if people don't say anything or do anything, you know, then our rights and you know, is going to get chipped away over time. And so I'm glad that you're, you know, standing up and using your platform to you know, fight these things.
Well, I mean, I think it's only right. We should do it no matter what size platform you have. But by all means, you know, it's my pleasure. Hunting's been so good to me, and outdoors have been good to me. So if I can just give a little bit back, you know, whether it's archery or anything entertainment, and certainly political views, and you know, try to pass it on to the next one, I it's the least I can do.
I appreciate you coming on here and giving me the time to talk with you. And you know, I really appreciate it, for, you know, to be able to get access to somebody like you in the outdoor industry. I really appreciate it. And uh, do you have any pages or like websites or social media pages that you want to give that we could check out?
Oh yeah, you could, you know, of course, Bone Collector, you know, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow Bone Collector, and then myself is T-Bone Outdoors on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We appreciate you know, all the followers out there, extended family, if you will, and you know, everybody just keep fighting the fight. I appreciate you having me on here, Jesse, and you keep up the good work over there and keep flying the flag in the great state of North Carolina.
All right, man. I appreciate it again. And folks, that's it. I appreciate you checking out this video. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it again, T-Bone. I appreciate it. Y'all keep following
Okay.
Carolina Whitetails.